Broadcasting live from the EBSN online studios in Columbus, Ohio. It's Silver and Blue Nation, the voice of diehard Dallas Cowboy fans. Now, here are your hosts, Big Game James and Producer G.
That's all that's kind of blurry.
What's up? Can you hear me, Producer J?
Yeah, how you doing?
Not too good. We just took our ass whooping.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling right now.
No, we just look pathetic and terrible. Defense looked good, like we thought it would, but offense looked terrible, like we thought it would.
Yep. I mean, it kind of was some of the things that I was concerned about going into the game. I picked the Cowboys to win in the pregame, but I'll never pick against them. But I was definitely worried about this one with the offense today.
Well, I can almost say I got at least the Panthers score right. They scored 16. They would have had 17. They wouldn't have to block extra points. So they would have put 17 on the board. But as I said before, I told you we were going to struggle offensively. I told you the first maybe 5 weeks.
Hey, I need to interrupt you for a sec.
Dak, I told you this was going to have to be a game on Dak. And I also said another one of the keys of the game was Joe Looney and Connor Williams getting handled in that middle. And you saw what happened today. Short basically manhandled Connor Williams. And that's why we couldn't get any of the running game going. Ezekiel couldn't run anything in the middle. Yes.
I don't think we have your microphone plugged in correctly.
All right, hold on.
Let's try to work that out for a sec. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of things that I noticed from Dak was his inability to anticipate throws. I saw a lot of times where, like, an Allen Hurns would be on a comeback route, look like he's wide open, but Dak doesn't see it, or he's way too late with trying to get it there. And by the time he looks at it, it's too late, and then he has to break outside the pocket, and then at that point he's just relying on someone to make a play. How after the play breaks down, he's relying on someone to get open down the field on a scramble drill. So that's just some of the stuff that I noticed. He's not able to throw guys open. That's another thing that I'm concerned about with him. And, I was hoping to see a lot of improvement from last season to this season. And so far it's looking the same in my mind.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think we're good there. Yep.
Okay. Well, sorry about that. I do apologize. I was just listening to what you were saying in that aspect. It looks like it's the same story like it was last year, but I'm also going to put a blame on Scott Linehan and Kellen Moore. I think that bringing Kellen Moore in as a first-year quarterbacks coach wasn't the greatest idea. And it's just like they're in love with this Boise State enamor. And it's just like you've seen a couple of those plays where Dak faked to the running back and he does the pump fake and he tries to drop it off to the – they knew that. They saw it. They read it. It was like they almost – once again, saw our plays and knew what we were going to do. First and second down, we're running. When we get behind, we go spread. It's kind of like everybody knows what we're going to do. As soon as we get behind, we have no running back in the backfield, and we go spread 5 wide. It's typical. It's like we do it every freaking game. And it's like, why don't you mix it up during the game instead of being so basic? It's like they're conservative in the first and second quarters. Then when we get down, then all of a sudden they want to try to open up an offense. And Dak is that not type of quarterback to just be throwing the ball around everywhere, not in my opinion. And you see, once again, he struggled. But it wasn't just him. It was that offensive line. Leo Collins had two penalties. He had a couple crucial penalties at the end of the game. And as I said before, Looney played good, but Connor Williams got manhandled. I told everybody that 295 pounds was not ready to play that left guard position because he's too light. And Short just did what he wanted with him. Either pushing him all the way back in the pocket or making Dak force where he's got to scramble outside. That was happening all game.
Yeah. I didn't like how Ezekiel Elliott had under 20 carries for only the 5th time in his career. I mean, the game was pretty close all the way up till the end. That's another thing I can't stand about the Cowboys that we've seen over the years is why does it always seem like they want to wait till they're down and out of the game to try to finally put something together on offense? Then it feels like they start getting aggressive when it's too late in the game. That's another thing I can't stand. And what was up with all the runs out of the shotgun formation? They rarely lined up in the I formation. Is that something with like Joe Looney and the snap process, or I wonder what's up with that?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that as well. It was almost kind of like when you saw those plays coming out the field, you're almost like that's not going to get a positive play. It will almost look like those were negative plays. But just like as you said before, we always want to get aggressive when it's too late. We always want to get aggressive when it's third and fourth quarter and we're down by 2 touchdowns, and then all of a sudden we want to start chucking the ball everywhere, and then we're moving the ball down the field with ease. Why don't you get like that in the very beginning of the game? You don't have to always hand off to Ezekiel Elliott every freaking first down. You can mix it up and make it. It just seems like we're so basic. Even when we try to get Tavon Austin in the game, what plays did we do? The same type of plays that we always do when we had Beasley. I mean, not when we did with Beasley, when we did with Lucky Whitehead, when we did with Ryan Switzer. It's the same old thing, and I don't care. This isn't an overreaction to me. Linehan needs to go. I don't know what the hell is off with Jason Garrett, but how many penalties did we have today? We just looked pathetic and sloppy on the offensive side of the ball. Our defense carried us. I think they only had 295 yards total yards on us. Cam Newton did nothing on us. They ran like the same damn plays all game. We knew what McCaffrey was going to do. He only had 50 yards rushing. They had less than under 300 yards, and we still lost.
Yeah, the defense definitely looks improved, and
that's without
looks like
Randy
the
Gregory.
strength of the team, which is sad considering you have Dak and Zeke, and there's just a lot going on right now. But before we move on, let me thank the people that are tuning in so far for this reaction. Jump in here, leave your comments, leave your frustration. I know everybody's frustrated right now. You're watching on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you comment on the Silver and Blue Nation Facebook page. Give it a share and a like so we can get everybody in here commenting their frustrations. I'll give a few shout-outs right now on Facebook. Burnett Rossum in there, Jeremy Allison, Ryan Dye, Jorge Lamelli, Jess Couch, TJ says we need a new coaching staff, Ruben Sanchez, Dino's in there. A lot of people showing their frustration with the angry face emojis. We understand. Melvin says in YouTube Live, Melvin says get rid of Linehan. And we got Michael Steven commenting over there, Trey Craig, Tim Williams, trying to get everybody's name. Stevie Mack and Matt Shelby always in there with us. Janiqua Russell, thank you, one of our proud patrons. Rodney Jones as well. So, guys, keep the comments coming. We'll try to get to some of your comments and get some of your frustrations, questions answered. And in the meantime, I mean, what else do you want to take away from this game? I mean, what do we have to do now to try to improve? Because right now it's looking like there's no go-to receiver. There's no go-to tight end. I mean, it's looking kind of rough going forward right now. Other than we get a home game. That's one positive.
Well, and also that we get the Giants, and they're not the greatest team. So that can help us because the Giants are struggling as well. They don't really have any kind of identity or any kind of threats besides Saquon Barkley and, obviously Odell. But I think our defense can handle them. But once again, are we going to be a team that's doing nothing but field goals? And we had our field goal kicker, and he did miss it. He was supposed to be in there for the big long kicks, and it was a 47-yarder, and he missed it. So once again, we scored 8 points. Is this going to be the season where we're scoring under 15 points a game? Because we're not going anywhere if we can't only get 14 points on the board. That's not a playoff team, and we're not going to go to the playoffs with that. So I think the thing that I'm taking away is it looks like the same old Cowboys from last year. It looks like our defense is improved. As you said, you could definitely see our defense is a lot better, but it's the same old thing on offense. And it's not just Dak, and Dak didn't play the greatest. He did not. I seen a couple throws he threw, and I was like, what the hell was that? So Dak is not looking the greatest, and it feels like that he needs to make those passes in rhythm. It's like when he has to sit there and think and hold the ball, it's like he almost can't complete the pass unless he's going outside the pocket. And that's a frustrating part. But once again, that comes down to Linehan and your guy, and your boy Kellen Moore. They need to put Dak in better positions. It seems like he's better when he can be on the run. It seems like Dak is better when he's on the run and moving. But when he has to sit in that pocket and has to throw from the pocket, he struggles. And that's just a fact.
And it's like what you said, too, like with Zeke, if Zeke has to get going in order for Dak to be able to make plays, and early on, you talked before about how they would stack the box up and make Dak have to beat you, and that's what they did early on in this game. And Zeke was not able to get it rolling. And I don't like the body language that I saw from Zeke and just everybody. They don't look like they were communicating or talking to each other on the sidelines. Everyone just kind of looked like they weren't ready to play today. I think the season might have snuck up on them like it did me. I couldn't even believe there was a game today. So maybe they're feeling the same way. Maybe next week it'll be a clean slate and we can go back home and redo this thing and try to beat these Giants and get back to even, because we can't go down 0-2.
No, hell no. We definitely can't go down to 0-2, and we also can't go 0-2 with two NFC opponents. What's the thing that always kills us at the end of the year when we're trying to make a playoff run? those early season games where we lose early and then they come back to haunt us later in the year. We don't. It's funny because we'll go and beat every damn AFC team in the league and go undefeated. But when it comes to NFC teams, we lose to them. And then when we win games at the end of the year, and the next thing you know, an Atlanta team or a Carolina team who beat us earlier sneaks into the playoffs because they beat us and we didn't handle our business. No way in hell when you watch that game did you think Carolina was the greatest team. I mean, if you looked at their offense didn't look anything good. No. You get what I'm saying? Like, their offense didn't look impressive. Cam Newton didn't look impressive. They were running the same damn plays they always do. They were looking up the middle. And what's so bad about it, they lost Greg Olsen early in the damn game. Greg Olsen was gone. They definitely did. You know what I'm saying? They definitely didn't do anything on us offensively. If you look at the third down percentage, I think they were like 2-10. You know what I'm saying? But yet, every time we get the ball, we make no opportunities. It's the same thing. We get the ball. It's almost like when you see us get the ball, okay, Zeke, you can tell when Zeke is getting the ball. You can tell when we're about to throw it. It's almost like we're still predictable.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Definitely a tough pill to swallow. Last season when Zeke was out for those 6 games and the offense was so strapped and limited and struggled, that's what it felt like today, as if you just cannot get that ball moving. I mean, I saw a crazy stat in the first half. It was the first time since I think it was 2002, back in those 5 and 11 years, that the Cowboys did not make a play past the 50-yard line in the first half of a game since 2002. So that's not good to be starting off your season that way.
No, and that's very alarming. And also, they were saying that, we didn't get into the red zone until the damn fourth quarter. We didn't get inside that 20 to the red zone until the fourth quarter. But once again, you got Jerry Jones standing over top of them and saying, no, I don't want Zeke to play in the preseason. I don't want Dak to play in the preseason because I want them rested and healthy for the regular season. But guess what? That's why they don't get rid of preseason games. That's why. Because when people say get rid of the preseason, you don't need it. Yes, you do. In the NFL, you do need a few games, and those guys needed to play with each other. Dak needed to play with Zeke. Dak needed to play with those receivers, and they need to get more reps together. You guys, they just think they can just pick it up and go out there. It doesn't work like that in the NFL. Guys scheme you, and they scheme your formations. And if they think you're going to do the same thing that you were doing last year, they're going to, sit on these routes and try us different. And what were we doing? We're throwing dink and dunk. Tell me one pass we threw long today.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like he's afraid to take chances. He's a conservative quarterback.
Like he's scared. Doesn't it seem like it, G? Like it's like he will not throw it deep. And I don't know if that's he's scared to throw it deep or if Linehan's not calling for it. But it's like we don't even look deep. And these defense are sitting there thinking, we're not worried about you going deep. We're going to sit on, you can throw these little 5-6 yard passes. We're not worried about that because at the end of the day, when you get third down, we're going to come after you. And then when we blitz you, wouldn't see you make that quick decision because we're going to think you're going to throw it in the dirt. And a lot of times Dak was throwing it in the dirt today. Yep. We look really predictable and we look easy to guard.
You said it before the game. There's a lot of pressure on him. He had the most pressure on him, and obviously he did because he wasn't able to live up. He wasn't able to perform. So.
And when you look at that, G, when I said that he's got the most pressure at this game and the season, it's coming to the forefront. Now, when you look at him having this kind of year, now you look at you're not going to get another contract. You're not going to get another contract.
Not if you're playing like this.
If you see Dak Prescott and he plays like this the rest of the year, he's not getting another contract with the Dallas Cowboys. And Dallas Cowboys are no longer looking at you as a franchise type quarterback. And as I said before, that's why Mike White was drafted as a developmental guy, because they were covering their checks to make sure to see if he was. Mm-hmm. And with this kind of stuff, I think it's also Scott Linehan that sabotages Dak, in my opinion. Not saying he's sabotaging him, but I feel like, I wonder if you had a different quarterback, would you open up that offense more?
I mean, another thing that I noticed, in my opinion, I think we're all pretty good and we're all pretty satisfied with how we've seen the defense play. Going back to last year, we knew they were coming into form and they looked good so far in that first game in this season and off season and everything. They've looked good. In preseason they carried that over, so that was good to see. But one thing I feel like I'm noticing is that we don't have that clear leader on the offense because, like I said, Zeke kind of looked like he wasn't really in it mentally. He kind of looked checked out. Is he going to be the guy you can lean on for that mental support when things are going bad in the game? I don't know about that. He kind of seems like a powder to me, like he's going to walk over on the sideline and hold his head down and, probably say things he shouldn't say in the press conferences. That's what you've seen at Ohio State from him. So I don't know if he's that leader. He's a great player. And then Dak, it's hard to be a great leader when you're not showing it on the field with your performance. So I just don't really know if we have that leader on offense. Obviously, we had Jason Witten, and we lost that. So I think we're still trying to find our identity in that leader on offense, and that's something that we got to figure out as we go through this season. So it could be a rough one, folks. I think I was saying something like 8-8 for us, 9-7 this year.
Well, you know what? Everything that you just said right there, I totally agree with you 100%. Wow, you just kind of hit everything the head on the nail. When I was watching Zeke, that's the same thing that was going on in my head as well. Was like as soon as he's not getting the ball or he's not getting the yards, he just has this look on his face like, I kind of don't care. And I'm not saying that is him, but it just seems like you can look at his body language. When you can tell when Zeke is not in the game, you look at his body language, and it looked like he was not in the game. He wasn't getting the carries that he wanted. You could see the frustration on him. And like you said, it looks like he kind of mentally checks out when he's not if things are not kind of going his way. He kind of mentally seems like he checks out. And you can always kind of go by his body language. And we were looking at Zeke to be one of the leaders on the team and one of being those guys that you look to be. He's the one that should be in the huddle clapping and getting everybody together.
Right.
He should be in the huddle telling everybody, let's go. But it looks like he is the one that's always sulking. And where does the young players or the other guys look forward to the leadership as well as Dak Prescott, like you said? You can't really be a leader on the field when you're not making plays. Guys don't follow you as much when you can't make the plays. You can't say, let's go, guys, and let's get this drive, but you're incompleting passes.
Exactly.
As a player, I'm not going to look at you and say, I believe in you, because when you're saying, let's go, let's do it, you're not making the plays. So in my head, I don't think you can do it, and maybe I don't try as hard. And that's just reality.
Yeah, so I think that's where we're at right now. We're trying to find that identity. We're trying to find that leader on the offense. We definitely don't have it at wide receiver. I mean, all offseason, throughout the training camp, throughout this whole offseasons in the draft and all that, like, we've been talking about it. Who's going to be that number one receiver? Who's going to be that tight end? And I still don't think we know after today's game. And that's a problem because we still have a lot of question marks going forward. And it's going to take a while to figure that out. And the Eagles are already starting off 1-0 with a backup quarterback. So there's a lot of concerns for me when you think about long-term on this season. Because if we can't do it with Zeke, and I mean, obviously, like it seems like every time we have an injury on one side of the ball or the other, whether it's offense or defense, and right now it's going to be Travis Frederick, it just seems to throw the entire chemistry off of the entire team, and it just doesn't make sense. Sean Lee going out last year throws the whole defense off, And it can't just be on Travis Frederick. The problem's got to be bigger than him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a coaching staff thing. Let's keep it. I mean, nobody wants to use the coaching staff as a scapegoat and say, "Oh, what's the staff?" But if you look at it, first of all, were we not sloppy today? Did it look like we were prepared? We looked sloppy as hell as a team. Offensively, defensively, we looked okay, but we looked sloppy offensively. Look how many penalties we had once again.
Yep.
We just looked like a team that wasn't prepared to play game one. Once again, we looked like a team that wasn't like – it looked like we were just basic. Like, we looked like a basic-ass offense. Like, looking at from the outside in, you look at a defensive coordinator, it looks like he could just feast on us. Shut down Ezekiel Elliott, make Dak Prescott beat you, blitz, and let's see what they can do. And until they can stop that, we're going to keep doing that to you. And if you're an opposing team, why wouldn't you do it? They're not proving otherwise they can stop it.
And that's what it is in my mind as well. It's like with the frustrations with Zeke that we talk about, like, that's towards the coaching staff in my mind. And I don't want Zeke to get in a situation or to a point where he's not happy and he don't want to play for the team because then he's going to quit on you every week. So I hope we don't go in that direction. We need to see them, happy and getting along and stuff on the sideline. There was times in the game where I saw Dak and Zeke just far apart from each other, not even talking. So on the sideline. So who knows what's going on?
It just looks like we don't have any fire. Did it not? It just looked like we had no fire in the game. It looked like we had nobody that, like you said, Nobody was out there taking a leadership role on that offensive side of the ball. Nobody was out there like, let's go, guys. Nobody was out there like, look, we can do this. It was almost like they knew it was going to happen. And as soon as something happens, they just automatically put their heads down. It just to me, it didn't seem like there was no confidence instilled from the offensive side. Once again, just like you said, we lose one main player, and our team seems to always fall apart. That doesn't fall on just Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott. That falls on Jason Garrett and the staff. And sooner or later, when is Jerry Jones and those guys going to wake up and see that it starts from the top and trickles down to the bottom? And if your coaching staff is not getting you where you need to be, this is going to happen every single week. Why do we have to keep on going through losses after losses and after disappointment every year to understand that there may need to be a change?
Young C Money comments on our YouTube live. Zeke has never quit. What are you guys talking about? We didn't say he quit in a game. We said he checks out mentally. That's different. There's a difference there. Sure.
You got to know what we're talking about. We seen Zeke, okay? We live in Ohio, okay?
Yes.
So first of all, we live in Ohio, so we see all Ohio State games, and we seen Zeke pout before. We've seen it in the Denver game, and we've seen it when he pouted at Ohio State when he didn't get the ball. And when things don't go his way, it seems like he does pout. We're not saying he quit. We're saying he pouted. And when you pout and get in your feelings, you don't play as hard. If you played any kind of sports, you should know that if you've seen people do it.
Exactly. So I'm trying to say that he checked out mentally, and that's a difference because you can go in there and just run your plays and do your job, but we're talking about as far as being a leader for this football team that we don't have on offense right now. We're so young and just don't have that veteran, which these guys are now veterans, to take a hold of everybody else on that team. Let me give a few more shout-outs on Facebook real quick before we move a little bit forward. John Rogers, Eric Doxson, Cal Holman, Catherine Ramos, Jeremy Cockerman, Giovanni Ramirez, Hulk Logan, Darren Winkle. We probably can't get to everybody's comments today, but I'm definitely giving you your shout-outs. Sean Jeffries, Jess Couch, Brian Fitzgerald, Marvin Hargrove. Hey, make sure you guys all go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well because we're watching there and monitoring comments. And Chef W comments as well. We appreciate your comment. And he had a good comment here. Just a second. Give me a second.
All right. It's quiet out here in Charlotte.
I've got a little bit of a sinus infection. If you can hear it in my voice, so I got a cough. So I had to shut off the button. But thanks to all you guys watching right now on Facebook and YouTube. Sucks we didn't get the win, but, it's still a long season. Just game one. It was on the road. We need to win our home game. So what do you think that they need to do this week to try to get prepared for next Sunday?
That's kind of a tough thing in my head.
You got to kind of think about it a little bit, process it, what just happened. Because I don't think there is any obvious answers right now. I mean, some people are going to say, should you – some people are going to ask about should you bring back like a Dez Bryant.
No, Dez Bryant is not going to change this offense, man. If we had Dez Bryant in there, do you really think we would have won that game? I don't think Dez Bryant would have made any kind of difference.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I really don't.
I agree with that.
And people were quick to jump out there and say, oh, I bet Dez is over sitting there laughing. Why would he be laughing? Dez wouldn't have won that game for us. Our offensive line play was terrible today. And that's just a fact. Dak had no time to throw the ball. And it's not like just Dak played bad, but was he not running for his life every play when he was going on the offensive side of the ball?
No, he was. But one thing that I think you're right about that. But one of the things that I think some of the great ones can do is they can compensate for that lack of offensive line by making anticipated throws, throwing guys open, things like that. Those are just things that I still don't see from Dak and his growth going into his third year. So hopefully he can kind of figure that out because it's going to be tough to keep your job and play a long career in the NFL if you can't anticipate a pass. I mean, all the great ones do it. They'll throw the ball to you before you even make your break. I just don't see that from Dak. It feels like he's always waiting for a guy to be open first. Now, he does have that chemistry, that timing on them slant routes, and particularly with Beasley, and it looks like he's got it with Gallup, but there was a lot of inaccurate passes even on the slant routes today too. So, but, again, he didn't have any turnovers. He didn't throw any interceptions, I should say, so that's pretty good.
But you know what, G, just like you said, just to bounce off what you're saying, everything you're saying is correct. But I think the biggest thing as well is, like you're saying, is that he's not getting interceptions because he doesn't want to mess up. It's like he don't want to go out there and take a chance. He doesn't want to go out there and look bad. And I mean, just like you said, guys there's always not going to be a perfect window when you throw that ball, but the great ones get that ball there. And it looks like, just like you said to me, just like I'm agree with you, is that he looks for people to be perfectly open, then he throws the ball instead of this guy's going to come out this break and that ball needs to be here. Because there was a pass that he waited forever, and I believe Blake Jarwin had made an inside cut, and he was open on over the middle, and Dak didn't get on the ball. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, I need to watch the all 22 film, because there were too many plays where I seen Dak running and he had time, and I'm like,
something's got to give.
Somebody's got to be open. That's what I was saying in my head. Like, somebody has to be open. Like, there's no way that they're covering us that good. Like, I know Aikman was saying that they're covering the team, but that Carolina secondary is not dope. It's not at all. And there were plenty of times, but Dak had plenty of time to throw, and he was waiting forever. And just like you said, you got to make the throw and trust yourself. You can't wait and say, oh, he's perfectly open, now let me throw it. That don't work in the NFL. You may get away with that in college, but that will never work in the NFL. They're going to see you. They're going to expose you. And it looks like Dak Prescott is continually get exposed for him not having the anticipation throws.
Another thing that I feel like some of the great quarterbacks do, aside from anticipation throws and throwing guys open, is having that ability to make a pass when you don't have your feet set. You know what I mean? Like an off-balance throw, cross your body. A lot of quarterbacks that are great have that ability to do that as well, because that's what I mean. Like, great quarterbacks can make up for your weaker offensive line because they can do things that average guys can't do. And Dak is definitely not average when it comes to his leadership and his physical abilities, but I just don't think he's capable. His makeup, you know what I mean, his structural makeup does not allow him to be physically capable to make some of them throws, because look at his awkward delivery. You know what I mean? He just has such an awkward, weird delivery. He can't make some of these throws that the great quarterbacks would from different side angles, throwing sidearm, throwing off balance, things like that. So those are just more things that I'm not seeing growth from when it comes to him going into year 3.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of passes where he threw in the dirt. Beasley was one open on one wide open one. He threw in the dirt, and the killer one was when he had to scramble in the first quarter or the first half, and we were driving, and would have been a big gain. It was a second down, and he scrambled, and he could have ran for the first down, but he chose to throw it, and Blake Jarwin was wide open, and he hopped it. The ball hit the dirt and it bounced into Blake Jarwin's hand.
Yep.
And I'm like, no, you cannot do that. You have to make that play. Great quarterbacks, or even good quarterbacks, make those plays. You have to, if you could have ran for the first down and you didn't, you have to complete that pass. And that just looked like, to me, a McNabb pass. I remember when I used to watch Donovan McNabb, and he used to throw those same type of passes. And that's what Dak Prescott reminds me of. He reminds me of Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb will make some great plays, but then you would also see Donovan McNabb was not the most accurate person. And I was never really scared of Donovan McNabb with his accuracy. It was just like his splash plays. If you could shut down Donovan McNabb's splash plays, you could beat him, because I was never scared of him as a pure quarterback, because he was the type of guy that couldn't take you all the way down the field and beat you. He just wasn't that guy, and that's what Dak Prescott is starting to remind me of.
So let me ask you this then: if you're Scott Linehan, you're the offensive coordinator, you know the pieces that you have to work with around Dak Prescott. How would you use Dak to his strengths? How do you think that they should be using him? Because obviously they're not using him the correct way to his ability.
I mean, I'm not one of those offensive coordinator gurus, but to me, he needs to be on the run. Every time you watch Dak Prescott when he plays, when he gets flushed out the pocket and he's able to move on the run, it seems like he makes better plays. He makes better plays when he's outside the pocket. When I don't know if Linehan is trying to keep him in that pocket, but it seems like when Dak has to stay in that pocket and he is not throwing a slant pass, you don't see him completing passes. And it's just the fact he doesn't complete passes in the pocket. And it's always, when he does, it's that 1-2-3 slant, either to Gallup or Beasley. But I want to see him in the pocket, get somebody deep. We didn't even look to go deep. And that's frustrating, because these defenses are sitting on our offense and not scared of us. I said we need to see a lot of Tavon Austin. We saw nothing of him. We saw nothing of his speed or his deep threat. You bring Thompson back. He has 4.2, 4.3 speed, but we're not using it. We're still throwing 5-6 yard passes, and these defenses know we're going to do it, and they're not scared of us. And they're like, if we can shut down Zeke, you're not going to beat us, and it's proven true time and time again.
Ninja Nuts said RPOs, a lot of run-pass options. You're saying bootlegs, things like that, get them outside the pocket. I'm sorry, I'm sick, guys. I got to hit my cough button again. Man, that's rough. So, again, if you guys are just tuning in, this is the Silver and Blue Nation post-game coverage. Big Game James coming to you live from Charlotte, right outside of Bank America Stadium. Make sure you give us a like and share on the video. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. We do live shows every week. Every Sunday we'll be here pre- and post-game, so turn on the notifications. If you're watching on Facebook, leave your comments down on the Silver and Blue Nation Facebook page. And let us know what you guys think we need to do. What are some answers right now? Because right now we really don't know. I mean, we probably need a few days to think about this, but right now there's not a lot of obvious answers for what to do to fix what we saw today. So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments.
Well, I can tell you right now, G, one of the biggest problems right now, like I said, is coming back to the offense. And I just don't know if the Kellen Moore hire or Scott Linehan, they gave him all power. They gave him the power to do what he wants. And we're still struggling. Part of it is him. Part of him is Dak. I don't know. It's frustrating because we're playing the Giants next week, and the Giants aren't a good team. But now I'm worried, how many points are we going to score on the Giants? We don't look like a team that's going to put up over 20 points a game right now. We do not look like that team. And that's very concerning because if you're not scoring at least 20 points a game, you're not going to win in the NFL. You're going to be a 6-10, 7-9 team.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in the pregame, I forget what I said. Oh, well.
You said 8-8, 9-7.
Yeah, but I forget what you just said, so that's my problem. I'm forgetting things that we just talked about, which is annoying because I'm trying to pay attention to so many things, including all these comments. Willie Stovall asked about calling in. We don't really have with James being out on site like that, we're probably going to stay off the phone line tonight, but we definitely
Big Willie.
Still be looking at comments, and next week we should be back here in the studio, so make sure you guys tune back in for that next week. So this is pretty cool, though, having you out there. Jerry Petro says 6-10. I'm seeing a lot of people commenting, kind of turning against Dak now, saying they supported him the last couple years, saying they don't know about it now. Baby Goose says Dak just plain sucks. So it's going to be a rough week in Cowboy land, that's for sure. A lot of questions to be answered. I can't wait to see what they say in these press conferences.
Right. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know me, G. A lot of people have bashed me and said you just don't want to wake up and see it. James, big game. You don't want to see that Dak is terrible. No, I just want to give Dak Prescott a chance. I knew that. Where did me and you ever talk and say Dak Prescott was all world? Where did we not ever say that he needed work and he needed to get better? I said that time and time again that he needs to get better. I said at the beginning of the year, if you have one person who had the most pressure on him was Dak Prescott because he needs to show, improve, and carry this offense. And I said it today. Well, who's this game going to be on? Dak Prescott. And it's going to be on him every single game of the year. And, yes, it's concerning because he doesn't look like our future. And it's just keeping it real. I'm a realist. I'm not a person that's going to keep on staying and believing in something if it's not true. I'm not going to just throw our quarterback in the trash, but a lot of things are very concerning. And if he does not step up and get things together, he's not going to be our quarterback too much longer. And that's just the truth. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, like you said before, too, they drafted Mike White, for a reason, to have some kind of security there. They got 3 quarterbacks on the roster. You know what I mean? Why are they doing that? Obviously they probably don't want to lose a guy, but they obviously have confidence in those guys to keep them.
I don't know if it's necessarily confidence, but I know one thing: when they're carrying 3 quarterbacks on the roster, that should be something people should really, really look at. Is that they are not even trying to play Mike White all year, but they're keeping him on an active roster. They're keeping him as a 3rd quarterback, and they're not even trying to have him see the field. That, like I said, when they drafted him, it was to put a blast on Dak Prescott to let him know that you might not be our guy. So we're going to draft somebody who's really good, we think can be. And if you fall off, we have somebody waiting in the wings. And that's why Mike White was drafted. He's the prototypical build type quarterback, 6'4", 230, big arm. He can make those. He can throw the ball better than Dak Prescott. That's just the truth. I mean, he has a better throwing motion. He throws a better deep ball. He's just not ready, and that's why he needs to sit the bench. But if you're talking about a better thrower, he's a better thrower than Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was never. You called it yourself, and how many other people called himself? Was a Tim Tebow, but just a little bit better on a higher level.
That was my exact comparison to him. Because he's a good leader. He just don't have the arm talent. That's just the bottom line. We got Pessimistic Woody who tuned in over here on YouTube. He said, prediction, Garrett fired by the end of the year and Dak benched by week 10. Wow.
That could happen.
Wow.
That could happen.
That would be a cleaning house type moment. Which basically, you'd really only be cleaning house when it comes to the quarterback and coaching staff if that's the case because the rest of the team is young.
Yeah, and that's when I think Chris Richard, if he continues to handle that defense. Remember we talked about in the beginning of the year that our defense carried us? Now, if our defense continues to carry us and our offense sucks, yeah, you can see Garrett being gone, Linehan gone, Kellen Moore gone, Dak Prescott replaced, and then I could see a guy like a Chris Richard sliding up into the fold as our head coach. Because if that defense holds us, he's going to be a guy that they're going to look at because they're not going to want to lose him because other people are going to try to poke at him, especially if our defense carries us this year. So Linehan and Jason Garrett and Dak Prescott, all three of your jobs are on the line this year. And if you don't produce, all three of you can be gone.
Ames Howard says he bets Dez is laughing at the wide receiver and front office coaches right now. That's very possible.
Like I said, Ames is my guy, but I don't think Dez would have did anything different. Dez would not have won us this game today. Jason Witten would not have won us this game. We look pathetic on the offensive side and terrible. And having those two guys on the team wouldn't have made any difference today, in my opinion.
I think we look terrible, though, possibly because of quarterback play, considering Zeke still broke through and has some pretty solid runs against that front that they brought against us. So Zeke still was able to get off and get his. I had in my fantasy league 15 points. So Zeke still got his touches. You know, he didn't get as many as he would have liked, but he still got off. So really it comes down to that quarterback play. I mean, that's just the bottom line. You got to be better as a quarterback. Ninja Nut said we need to get rid of Kellen Moore and Linehan. Those guys won't help out any of the guys we have right now. Young C Money says Dak won't ever be benched. I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that either.
He's not making the type of money that would say you can't, you have to be out there on the field. He's not making money like that, so he can definitely be benched.
And here's the thing. Now think about this. Think about if we would have went out there and got a Teddy Bridgewater, right? Oh, he could definitely be benched because if he was playing not good now and you had a Teddy Bridgewater, then you could definitely see him getting a quick pull. The only reason why Dak Prescott will not probably get a quick pull is because you're going to Cooper Rush. You get what I'm saying? And that's not instilling any kind of confidence in you. So you're going to stay with the Dak Prescott. You don't think Mike White is ready, and you don't want to damage his psyche by putting him out there getting killed. So that's why you'll see Dak Prescott maybe staying out there because he doesn't have a capable backup. But let me tell you something. If we had a veteran who was a very capable backup, if we would have got a Teddy Bridgewater or something like that, oh, yeah, you could definitely see Dak Prescott getting benched for Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, that's a good fact.
Yeah, I mean, we remember what it was like before Dak, so as of right now, like you're saying, I mean, if we were to bring in a Cooper Rush or a guy like that, we're going to have those type of results and definitely not have a chance, not this year at least.
No,
another thing, though, that maybe gets overlooked is the kicker spot. I know we talked about it a little bit, and it didn't really make a difference, I guess. But it could have because it could have shifted momentum in that game. At the time, it was only 10-0 when we missed that field goal. That could have been a momentum shifter. Instead, Carolina gets the ball back with great field position, and, we just lose another opportunity. But to me, that's a kick Dan Bailey hits most of the time. So I feel like I know he was making a lot of money, but that's what I was trying to get at before was that the kickers can be very important. Not just we can sit here and look at the score and say that it wouldn't have made a difference, but you never know how it could have changed the momentum in that game. So that's something that I think we're going to be concerned about going forward. I remember how much of a problem it was not having a kicker before and how we hit that one today. You're looking at a one-possession game instead of a two-possession game, at that point in time. So I think missing Dan Bailey might end up being a big thing, assuming that he would have still played at the level that we know he could have.
That's a big assumption, though, because he did fall off. But I do understand what you're saying. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't have to rely on field goals. Not saying that you're saying we are, but at the end of the day, we shouldn't have to be sitting there having to feel like we have to rely on field goals to win games. Our biggest problem is, just like it was last year, we're not scoring touchdowns. We're not getting in the end zone. And that falls on our quarterback. I said, Dak Prescott, can he get over 25 touchdowns? I said he could because he has to. He has to throw the ball. He has to throw touchdowns. It cannot be Ezekiel Elliott. As you've seen, yes, Ezekiel has some good runs, but at the end of the day, for the most part, he was still bottled up. And if more Dak Prescott can complete passes, the more Ezekiel Elliott has room to run the ball.
Yeah, and you know what? There were a couple times today where it looked like Dak was in a zone and in a rhythm, a couple times like there in that second half, but no level of consistency. And like I said before, 0 plays past the 50-yard line in the first half, 0 points. First time since 2002. That does not bode well if history means anything for the Dallas Cowboys. And it's just sad because we could say a top 5 running back in the NFL, top 5 offensive line in the NFL. Looks like we got a top 10 defense in the NFL. So bottom line right now, if you had to put the blame on who would you solely place the blame on right now if you had to pick one thing, whether it's coaches, Dak, receivers, tight ends? What do you think?
Wow, that's tough because there's a lot of areas I see right now I can put the blame on.
I feel like I'm going to put this one on the coaching staff. I don't like the way the training camp and the whole offseason, the flow of that went. When I was at camp, I just didn't see a lot of things that stood out to me or impressed me being at camp. I don't know what you saw there.
They weren't hard camps.
I saw the same thing I saw today in camp, really.
Yeah, when I was in camp and I wanted to tell you this, it just seemed like it was a luxury camp. It was not a hard camp at all. I was out there 2 days, and it just seemed like they weren't going at it hard. I don't know if that's across the board because you can't hit a lot, but it just seems like it wasn't a hard camp. You're in good weather. You're not in the heat. Everything was good. And it's just like they weren't really trying to, Dak would get some reps and then the other guys get the reps. Dak's got to get reps. And that's the biggest. He
still needs work.
He needs work. And the fact that they sat him out in that Cardinals game, that third preseason game, and did not let him play at all.
He needed that.
That's what pissed me off. He needed to play in that game. Ezekiel Elliott needed to play in that game. We need to play a full first-team game so we could get a rhythm. But they want to sit those guys out like they're bulletproof. Dak is not a bulletproof quarterback. Dak is not Aaron Rodgers that he sits on the bench on the third preseason game. Dak is not a Tom Brady. Dak needs to get out there and get all the damn reps he can because Dak is still maturing as a quarterback. And for them to sit him out like they did, that's the staff. But once again, who else is that? Jerry Jones.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like Dak himself and the team, they act like he's this all-world, like multi-million-dollar franchise quarterback. We're afraid to get him injured. Like, he's not making money, people, and he's not proven yet. I mean, he has a nice resume for his first 2 seasons as far as his winning percentage. But, the team was great that he came into. And, they built that team for Romo. And it would have been nice to see him be able to continue that on. Could you imagine if we had a Romo right now? I know a lot of people. I've seen a lot of Romo comments.
I don't want to even talk about it because we'll bring all them Romo lovers because I already had people come on my page and say, see, if we had Romo, could you imagine?
Well,
yeah,
a lot of people.
I could imagine.
A lot of people wanted to bring him back.
Yeah, but we're not.
He's too old.
Move on. So that's why I don't play with my emotions. I don't sit there and, damn, I wonder what Romo will look like. I can't wonder. Because it's not happening and it never will. So I don't even want to think about it because it's never going to happen. So why get my dreams? Why? That's just like having a weird wet dream or something like that. Like, I don't know.
Let's just hope that, bottom line, it's like what I said earlier. They just weren't ready to play. The game came up on them too fast like it did me today.
How can it not be ready, though, G? I agree with you, but how can we not be ready and we have 4 games, preseason games prepared for week 1
said it.
Carolina Panthers?
You just said it, though. Like, why they're not ready, because they didn't play the guys. They didn't let Zeke get 1 carry. I mean, these guys are on rookie deals. Like, it's not like we got a big contract we're locked into with them. Like, let's get them out there and play. Like, it feels to me like they think we're going to the Super Bowl. Like, that maybe there's some delusion going on there.
I think there is some delusion. I mean, freaking Le'Veon Bell missed his game today. and that game check was $834,000. That's more than Dak Prescott makes all year. So why are we not sitting him out there on the third preseason game playing against the Cardinals like he's like the all-world quarterback? Like he don't need to let Dak Prescott sit down and let Kellen Moore. No, you don't need Cooper Rush out there. You need Dak Prescott. He needs to get all that damn work.
I know the Steelers tied today, but it looked like they might not be worried about not having Bell because James Conner had a humongous day.
Yeah. Don't tell me Le'Veon Bell wouldn't have made a difference.
Pessimistic Woody says, what about going after an RG3? How would you feel about that at this point? If you had to make a decision, RG3 or Dak Prescott right now? I mean, who's going to be better, honestly?
I'm sorry. I don't have confidence in RG3. I know he made the Baltimore Ravens squad. I guess he's looked pretty decent in the preseason. But I'm sorry. I would go for Teddy Bridgewater over RG3 because Teddy Bridgewater can throw the ball. What was the biggest thing that RG3 is he could throw the long ball, but he couldn't complete those inside passes. Maybe he's matured. I don't know, but we just saw him a few years ago with the Browns, and he looked terrible. So I don't know how much better he would do. But when I see a Teddy Bridgewater who actually comes in and can throw the ball, he can throw the ball, and we need a quarterback can throw the ball because Dak Prescott is looking like he can't throw it, and it's frustrating because I've been backing him and saying I know you can do this. I see your ugly throwing motion, but I think you can rise above it. But now it's looking like your warts are showing again, and it doesn't look like you're going to be able to overcome that unless you have a perfect operating offensive system. If you don't have that perfect operating offensive system, it feels like you're not really going to make it in the league.
So, at this point right now, what we've seen so far, there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Where's Dak Prescott ranking? You know what I mean? He's not going to be in the top. Is he one of the worst quarterbacks in the league right now?
I'm not going to say he's one of the worst, but if you're looking at what his performance has been.
Who would you rather have? I mean, obviously you'd rather have like a Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, but, you know, who are some young guys you think that Deshaun Watson? I mean,
I'll take a Deshaun Watson. I'll take can I be real with you? I'll take a Patrick Mahomes over him.
I like Mahomes. He's got a big arm.
He's got a big arm, and he can complete those passes, and he has moxie. See, that's the thing with Mahomes. Like, you could see him. He has that leadership ability, but what else does he have? Like you just said, he has that deep ball, and he can throw that ball, and that makes you fall in love with that quarterback more. We ain't falling in love with Dak Prescott because he seems like he can't throw the ball, and he looks like a bottom-tier quarterback. And if you're looking like young quarterbacks, hell, I think Marcus Mariota got benched today. I think he got benched today in his game. And why? Because when he was coming out of college, he was set with that RPO. He was a run-pass option quarterback, and he wasn't like that pure passer. And guess what? Is he struggling in the NFL right now?
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. And why? Because he was never a pure quarterback. He was more of a running quarterback, and he was never a passing quarterback. And now he is getting exposed. You have to be able to throw the ball in the NFL. And that's why you can see a Jameis Winston having a better career than Marcus Mariota, not because maybe Winston might be a better athlete, because Mariota's a better athlete, but what can Jameis Winston do better than Mariota? He can throw the ball.
So let me ask you this then. How many more games where the offense looks like this, how many more games do we got to lose before a change is made, whether it's the coaching change or the quarterback change? How many games do we got to lose? Is it 0-8? Is that when we see a change?
I mean, it have to be a mid-season change. That's when I think it would happen. Just like when Garrett came in after Phillips got fired, it was kind of a mid-season thing.
So basically, once we determine that we can't make the playoffs and the season's over,
and basically like, okay, you know what, we need to scrap this project and move on. I think that's when you would see it. But like I said, Cooper Rush ain't instilling no confidence in me. If you were to bench Dak Prescott, we would just be falling off even more, man.
Viper Smart on our Facebook Live, Viper Smart Start Miami says Dak is Tim Tebow's cousin. I've made that comparison myself. Yes, I mean, he has the ability to run. He's a similar size, similar delivery with the football, like just limited with his throws, and a pretty good leader, you know, so it's very, very comparable. And at this point, the way Dak Prescott's looking, you know, before I would have said for sure Dak's better than him. But at this point, I don't know, man. It's pretty – I mean, I think he's a little bit safe to say he's a little bit better than what Tim Tebow was as a passer, but I think it's pretty close, honestly.
I can't really disagree with you right now, and it's frustrating. I want to disagree with you. I want to say, hell no, he ain't no damn Tebow. He's better than him. But when you look at the qualities and the characteristics, yes, Tebow was a great leader. Yes, Tebow could run that damn ball, but Tebow could not throw, and that's why he's not in the NFL, and that's why they did not give him another chance. That's why they said you must convert to a fullback or a tight end because you cannot throw the ball, and we will not give you another opportunity because you cannot do it. They said his practices were terrible. And what's the thing they say about Dak Prescott? They say, yeah, he's not the greatest practice player. And even when we went out there, you went out to camp and I went out to camp. I seen some of the passes Dak was throwing at camp, and I was like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I seen a lot of the same stuff in camp that I seen today.
A lot of bad passes, and I'm like, man, Dak, I want to believe in you, but that's bad.
A lot of just rolling out and like little rollouts, but he just kind of always throws it into the dirt. Exactly what you just said. And someone made a comment saying that McNabb was better than him. Yes, I would agree with that. McNabb got you to 5 NFC championship games, and he put up 30,000 yards. I don't know if that's in Dak's future. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I don't know if that is either. When I'm talking about the comparison, if anybody watched Donovan McNabb, though, McNabb used to kill you, but to me, McNabb was more splash plays. When did you really see McNabb really put a team on his back when the game was on the line and win the game? Show me. I need to show me a lot of fourth-quarter drives when the ball was on the 20-yard line, and McNabb was just taking his team all the way down the field and winning games. No, he wasn't, because he wasn't that type of passer. He was not, and y'all know it, and that's just the truth. Yes, he could throw that big deep ball, but he wasn't killing anybody with that accuracy.
Who are you talking about? I'm sorry.
I'm talking about Donovan McNabb.
McNabb, yes. That's another thing.
I was never scared of McNabb, like taking all the way down the field, beating us with his arm. I was scared that we flush him out the pocket and he's about to go run and he throw a deep pass and kill us. That's when I was afraid of McNabb. But I was never afraid of McNabb inside the pocket because he was never an accurate type guy.
Yeah, you're right about that. He was very elusive, getting out of sacks and extending plays, but he was just really, he had a knack for that.
Yes.
I just want to thank everybody who's tuned in on this post-game show. Normally we're in the studio. If you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give us the thumbs up. We got 106 people watching on YouTube. That's pretty cool.
Woo!
Thank you to everybody in there.
I love it.
All you guys commenting. We appreciate all your comments, and on Facebook Live as well. Appreciate everybody who has tuned in tonight. And make sure you come back next Sunday for the pre- and post-game show. We'll be back here, full production in the studio, and we'll get everybody in here and get those bold and score predictions and try to figure this thing out. Maybe some changes happen. I know we had some Randy Gregory news. You got an update on that?
No, not as of now. I just know he got knocked out the game with concussion. We'll find out more about if he had a relapse or not. I heard it was more so that he may have just missed he has to go to rehab, and it was one of those that he has to show up for visits. So it could have been, I think it might have been one of those things where he didn't show up for a visit, and they kind of, you know how it is, sensationalism. I mean, they report one thing, and then it blows up. I mean, people were sending it to me, so hopefully we get all the facts and everything is okay and that he doesn't get suspended, because I hate for somebody to battle for 2 whole years just to get resuspended again. That kind of just doesn't make sense to me. But let's hope for the best. Defense is carrying us, and we're going to need our defense to carry us this year because offense just looks atrocious. I can't say nothing else about it.
Yeah. So question marks at receiver, question marks at tight end still remain.
Offensive line looked terrible,
Offensive line, especially exactly where you talked about, coming right up that middle, in particular right past Connor Williams, Joe Looney. I saw a lot of pressure coming up that middle part right there tonight. So lots of question marks.
Connor Williams, I didn't mean to cut you off, G. Connor Williams got abused today.
Yes, he did.
Abused.
I think we can be pretty satisfied and pretty optimistic about what we saw from the defense. But we need a game to get us pumped up about this offense. We're going to have to see it. So until then, let's just remain cautiously optimistic, I guess, that something could be turned around. We got a clean slate next week. So.
Hey, but you know what else, G? Remember what we were talking about? It's funny. I had some people bust me out. When we had that draft party? When we had that draft party, G? And I had some people bust me out when I was like, what the hell are we doing with getting LVE and Connor Williams in those first couple rounds? I had some people come at me later on and say, oh, big game, you was the one that was dogging our draft picks like that. I said, because I was concerned. I was concerned about Connor Williams because of his weight, and I was concerned about LVE getting blocked all the time in that small division, and you're big as hell. And did you watch LVE in this game? Because there was a few plays when he was playing that middle linebacker position, and he fired off the ball, and as soon as that guard or tackle put their hands on him, they moved him right out the way like he wasn't there. He couldn't shed the block. And that was his problem in that Mountain West Conference. And it's showing again in the NFL. So as much as I thought, hey, well, let's bring him along slowly, those things that I was worried about are showing in the game. Those things I was worried about with Connor Williams, about his weight. We had LeBron Leary. He was 330 pounds, G. We had even Jonathan Cooper was 340 pounds. It makes a hell of a difference when you're only 295 pounds. That is light for a guard. You will get mauled. When you're going against guys that are 340 pounds that are pushing you back, it's going to struggle. And you're seeing Zeke. We're not running. How many runs did we get up the middle? Like, seriously. We were doing pitches and sweeps because we could not run up the middle because we're getting manhandled. And that's concerning because I don't see that just happening one game. I see that happening a lot of time.
Yep. So again, like a lot of question marks that remain. So it's looking like it's going to be a rough time, folks. So hopefully we can surprise somebody and have some like a light switch that kicks on or something, and we can get back to that 2016 way. I know that's what we all want. But starting off 0-1 is not good. But didn't we start 0-1 that season?
Yeah, we started 0-1. The Giants beat us,
yep, so,
and then we rattled off like all those wins. I don't know if we're rattling off 8 straight wins or 10 straight wins. I don't see that happening. That's just true.
Well, hey, if there's a little bit of something to look at, if you want to take something out of it, you can look at that. We started 0-1 in 2016, and look what happened. So that can hold you over for this week till we get to next week and take on those Giants. So that's something to hold you guys over. And make sure you keep watching the page and subscribing to YouTube and all that for the video cuts throughout the week and all the content that we drop every week long, the memes, the funny stuff, the news, everything that comes out on point. Silver and Blue Nation, Big Game James Facebook pages. Make sure you subscribe there and all that good stuff. And check back with us next Sunday for the pregame show against the New York Giants. Do you have any final thoughts?
Just final thoughts. Make sure you keep on, subscribe to the Patreon account. Support. With that good support, so we can keep on giving you kind of action like this. We can be at the games, doing live broadcasts like this. We can keep on bringing you more. Just some final thoughts. I'm just a little concerned, man. I'm a little concerned with Dak. No, I'm a lot of concern. I'm a lot of concern with Dak and the staff. And if we don't get it together, I can see that, we could be an 8-8 team, maybe a 7-9, because we don't have any offense, and that is scary.
Yeah, I don't really have any final thoughts other than there's just still a lot of question marks. That's all I got, and make sure that you guys tune back in next week. Again, if we missed your comments, we're sorry about that. There was a lot of people watching, a lot of comments. We'll get yours next time. You got to jump in every week with us so we can make sure we get you in the shout-out section. So until that time, he's live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that's Big Game James.
And that's Producer G. Voltron. We appreciate you. I am here in North Carolina. We love you.
And the show ends just like that. Next week.